This podcast is proudly sponsored by DKK Marketing and East Cobb City Lifestyle. Their mission is to create memorable moments, cultivate connections, build brands, and drive business development. Their team is dedicated to showcasing aspiring stories that highlight remarkable people, vibrant places, community events, and the impactful leadership and businesses shaping Cobb County, Metro Atlanta, and beyond.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Your Morning Drive. I am your host, Logan. I am so happy that you guys tuned in today. I've got a great episode. Before we get to it, a couple things. Listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or watch on YouTube, depending on what platform you're on. If it's any of those three or something else, make sure you hit the subscribe or the follow button so that you are in tune every week for new episodes to drop every Wednesday, and you won't miss one because you'll get the ding and the notification will be there and it'll be like, boom, new episodes. So make sure you hit follow or subscribe. Another follow you should do is on social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, any of those places that you want to keep up to date with new episodes, clips from the existing episodes, little announcements here and there, sponsorship information, all of those things are available to look at on the social media pages, everything on all the platforms, social and listening. Everything is Your Morning Drive. So just give it a follow, give it a look, and share it with a friend. I greatly appreciate it. We're live from the Fireworks co-working studio in Marietta, Georgia. You too can enjoy this space if you use code DRIVE when you book it, or if you come into the space to check it out, let them know Logan sent you, and you are eligible for a free day pass to try the space out. So you have literally nothing to lose. If you're working at home and you're tired of working at home and you want to get away from your spouse, your dog, your kids, whatever the case may be, drive. Day pass. So guys, my guest today is the owner of Jewelry Artisans. He began his career in the jewelry industry 35 years ago in High Point, North Carolina, before moving to Atlanta in 1993 to manage the store he would eventually purchase in 2000. With a background in architecture and psychology, he brings a unique perspective to helping clients find the perfect design or gift, guided by his attention to detail and love for distinctive jewelry. Known for his approachable and easygoing nature, he has cultivated a loyal customer base. Outside of work, he enjoys watching soccer, scuba diving, and caring for saltwater aquariums. Please welcome my new friend, Jamie Kresl.
Hey, thank you, Logan.
How are you, man?
Very much.
I'm excited that we got it together. Shout out to Diane for linking us up and having you jump on here. It's super exciting. And Diane said it in the email the other day, but you're the only jeweler I've ever spoken to. I know nothing about the world of jewelry.
Okay, we're gonna have to change that because your
Yes.
wife will love that part.
Exactly.
Especially when she hears this podcast and goes, "Oh, you spoke to a jeweler."
She'll be like, "Oh, we should go check out his spot." I'll be like,
"Yeah,
what's that?" And they'll like run away and hide. But yeah, man, super awesome to have you here. We've got our friend in the corner, Maddie, right? She is off camera. You might have heard her just then, maybe not, but either way, she is hanging out. You're marketing director, yeah, manager, all of the hats. We talked about that. When you're in a small business, you're wearing a lot of hats. So I definitely get that, definitely understand. It's like one person is sales, HR, and operations all in the same thing. And it's like, people are like, what do you do? And you're like, how much time do you have? And they're like, okay, got it. So that's what you do. Congratulations. Thanks for being here too. So guys, Jamie, tell me about yourself, man. I mean, where are you from? Parents, siblings, childhood? Tell me your origin story, man.
Yeah, cool. So I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska. Mom, dad, brother, sister, dog, fish, played sports and just your wholesome, good old American boy, growing up. And we moved to Atlanta when I was 14. Little interesting because I was going into high school. Yeah. Hard time, to be honest with you, hard time. And, the joke with my parents at the time was when I turn 18, I'm moving back, so didn't happen that way. And, you know, I love Atlanta. I've been here almost on and off for the whole time.
Wow.
But yeah, it's, I grew up in, outside in Lawrenceville, Livermore area. Graduated from Brookwood High School in 1983. So I am aging myself a little bit here. And, you know, you weren't even thought of back then. So
no, you're probably, you're about my father's age,
Yeah.
or you and my dad are kind of hovering around the same area, but continue.
Yeah.
Why did you
Yeah.
guys move to Atlanta? Was it a parent's job or something?
Yes. Yeah. So my dad worked for Western Electric.
Okay.
So the plant used to be off of Jimmy Carter in 85.
Yeah.
And so he had that job and he did international sales. So,
I am so excited that we are entering year 2 of the support from the fireworks community team. I am so excited to have them hosting us today. They're a creative co-working space focused on supporting the local community and uplifting creative entrepreneurs. Get a free day pass. When you book with them, you have to use code DRIVE, or if you go to see them in person to visit their beautiful space and meet their awesome staff, tell them Logan from Your Morning Drive sent you, and you'll get a free day pass to try the space yourself. Fireworks Co-working in Marietta, Georgia.
it was an interesting move for us. Fortunately, we had another really close family of ours that moved here 6 months prior. My dad's best friend. So I've known the kids, you know, all
Sure.
of us grew up
Might
together.
as well be family.
You know, so it was really nice having that familiar, you know, family here.
Sure.
The other option was Orlando. So we voted for Atlanta, and
Yeah.
I'm very grateful,
Yeah.
you know, in hindsight. But
Orlando always sounds like when you're like, oh, we'll move there. As a kid, at least, you're just like Disney World is
Yes.
close, SeaWorld, Universal Studios, all of those attractions. But then, like, if you talk to anyone who lives in Orlando, they're like, I hate it so
yes,
much.
yes.
The
And I'm so
tourists are too
grateful.
much.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, yeah, glad that you guys chose Atlanta.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't, we might not be sitting here,
And
Jamie.
we wouldn't be sitting here, right?
Wow.
I mean, you know, it is kind of interesting how the story goes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you guys get to Georgia, you're 14, you're like, I'm moving back. I definitely get the high school thing, man. I mean, I moved around a lot growing up because my dad's in commercial construction.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we moved all the time. Every 2-3 years, we'd pack it up and move it to another state because he was a supervisor. He would supervise these large project sites. And then they'd finish, and then they'd be like, all right, well, we need you in Phoenix or Oklahoma City or
Wow.
Raleigh or, you know, so I moved all around the country. And one of the moves that I absolutely dreaded was the move in between sophomore and junior year.
Oh my
So
gosh.
right dead in the middle of high school where, you know,
can't
and
imagine.
you probably had the same predicament of saying, guys, to your parents, like, everyone's already got their friend groups.
Yeah.
They're just going into high school together. Everyone's already established. You might meet 1 or 2 people here and there in high school, but you're still sticking to that core friend group you had in middle school or just growing up. And that's hard to move. And I mean, I can personally speak. When I moved, I sat alone at lunch for a couple months before I really met anybody. I mean, it's tough to be a kid sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's one of the examples for sure.
Sure. I would say the blessing was, though, back then, Gwinnett County was the fastest growing county in the country. And so the subdivision we moved in was brand new. So everybody moving into it was brand new,
That's nice.
which was really nice. So, you know, we, you know, kind of the guys and the girls my age kind of started, you know, hanging out together,
Sure.
you know, because we really didn't know anybody else. And,
Yeah. And that
you
was
know,
your common ground.
that was exactly. And we kind of all started the same school together.
Yeah.
You know, so it was kind of the same thing.
Well,
but,
that's nice.
but it was nice. You know, once we
Yeah.
got here and established, you know, I didn't look back, of course. But,
Yeah.
you know.
But yeah, same thing where you're just like, I can't wait till I'm an adult and I'm going
Right.
to move back
Yeah.
and be with all my friends. And that just never happened.
No. Thank goodness.
Yeah, right. You don't miss Nebraska?
You know what? I don't. I do not, especially the cold weather.
Yeah, man.
You know, I love warm weather. So it's even when it starts getting, you know, in the 50s and 60s here, I
Yeah.
don't like it.
Might be the first person from Nebraska I've ever met, Jamie. I don't know if I've ever met
Okay.
someone from Nebraska, but you'll hear some things in my voice here and there that suggest I'm also not from Georgia. I'm from Illinois.
Okay.
So
you're a Midwestern boy.
I
There you go.
understand the Midwestern,
Yeah.
I don't want to say hate, but I understand the opposition to the weather. I was just there yesterday.
Okay.
I had like 3 cousins graduate 3 different levels of schooling. So my parents, siblings, and wife and I drove up on Friday and spent the weekend celebrating and drove back yesterday. And to my surprise, it was quite cold.
Yes. It's cold here.
Leading up to June here. I remember as a kid, Illinois summers were humid as hell.
Yes.
And that was not my experience. I packed a sweatshirt, thankfully, because my dad was like, you never know. The temperature says it's supposed to be like 60 degrees or 40 degrees. And it sure as hell got to 40 degrees one of the nights. And
that's crazy. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
In May.
In May, exactly. And I was like, you know what? I kind of want to go back to Georgia right now. Like this kind of sucks.
I know, but it is cold here. It's crazy.
Yeah,
you know?
It is. The rain has got to stop, man.
I know.
We got to call it quits on the rain.
I am with you. I am so with you.
Funny enough, you'll find this funny. On the way here, I asked my smart CarPlay thing. I was like, when's it supposed to stop raining? And it said, the rain is scheduled to stop Saturday. And I said, okay, it didn't understand me. When is it supposed to stop raining today? And then it answered again, the rain is scheduled to stop Saturday. And
so we're getting all week.
Oh, okay. So it's going to rain all week. That's fantastic. I'm so excited for that.
Yeah, our April showers have moved into May showers.
I guess so.
So we'll see all the flowers in June, I guess.
I guess. Everything's just going to be a month late.
You're right.
We're going to get unbelievably cold weather in January in 2026, not in December.
It'll be crazy.
That'll be all right. Whatever.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so in high school, you meet these people, you all move to the neighborhood at the same time. So you're going into high school with at least some kind of safety net of like, hey, that kid's new, she's new, he's new, we're all new. So if nothing else, we've got each other. So you go through high school, and are you an athlete at all?
I did play soccer.
Okay.
Played soccer and tennis.
Soccer and tennis.
So soccer was my thing since I was 8. So played, and getting here into Georgia, fortunately made a select team, and, played at the highest level I could at my age. And so then played in high school all 4 years, and thoroughly enjoyed it, loved it, and actually carried on soccer throughout my whole adult life until I was about 55. And
really?
My body finally started saying, no, we're done.
Yeah.
My knees especially, but, so it's definitely my passion. Love it. Played high school tennis, and that was fun. But that didn't carry on much from there.
No.
No.
You actually kind of look like a guy that is like really good at tennis.
Oh, interesting.
Like when you walked up, I was like, this dude looks like he's playing tennis.
Yeah. Well, I started playing again, so that's a good thing. So, can't play soccer anymore. I can still play tennis, It's not as much,
Sure. Not as much wear and tear.
Not as much.
Knees.
Yeah. So that's kind of, I'm getting back into it, slowly with my buds, and, hitting around, and,
sure.
So I'll take it a little more serious coming now once this year, start taking lessons again, and find a league I can join.
Yeah.
I love the competitiveness of just sports. I do miss that.
Yeah.
A lot. So,
really? Are you a competitive guy?
But I like just like being out there, being competitive, and just, getting a run, just the fun part.
All in good fun, of course.
Yeah. And the camaraderie.
Sure.
I miss that other part too. The camaraderie with the guys, playing a game and then hanging out afterwards, and, whatever. And, so it's always been fun.
Yeah. Are you a golfer at all?
No, I'm not. And I always say it's the opposite of soccer or tennis. It's just too chill for me.
Yeah.
I like running around, and I like, that active part of it, and I've tried.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I won't ever be, when my body makes me slow down even more, maybe, Now, there is the nature, the camaraderie in golfing as well. It just, I don't know, just haven't gotten into it.
Well, I respect you being able to say that you're not 100% into it, because I am finding myself, at least in this phase of life, of like, a lot of my friends have kids. I have no kids yet. So a lot of their get out of the house time is golf. And I am the token bad golfer in my friend group. I'm the one that shows up for the drinks and for the camaraderie.
Right.
I am there for the comic relief. I'm probably going to drop a Happy Gilmore quote or two. I'm there just to have a good time.
Right.
But I find myself in this situation of like, I kind of want to get better at it so I can at least hold my own. But then like, it's like, but I already go out there with no care in the world. What is this another thing that I need to focus time on, or should I be prioritizing other things? So it's one of those predicaments that I'm just like, I wish I was just a guy that was like, no, I don't golf and I don't ever need to golf, kind of.
Yeah.
But I am unfortunately a yes man, and I don't like missing out on the good times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially, the camaraderie, with the remote thought of their wives saying that they could go out for a drink after the round or something, or being able to hang out with them afterwards. Guys never want the party to die. That's the thing about men.
Right. So true.
The ladies are always ready to go home. The men are like, can we not stay for 4 more hours? What's going on? So I respect that. I'm jealous of that quality of being able to say, nah, not right now, at least, for now, in case one day your body's just like, hey, bud, slow it down even more.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you might have to be forced to at least take up ping pong or something,
right?
Something different,
or
pool, or
pickleball. Pickleball is the next one.
That's all the rage nowadays.
It is, but I hear there's lots of knee injuries in that one. So it makes me a little nervous picking up the paddle and trying it. We'll see.
Yeah, never say never, I guess.
I mean, we'll try it. I'll try it. It's another thing to try.
Sure.
Might be easier. I don't know. I don't know enough about it yet.
I know very little about it. In fact, I'm quite confused because we've got ping pong, tennis, we've got badminton that exists in its own realm, and now pickleball. And it's like, what is the difference between all of these? Is it just the size of the court, the size of the ball, whatever? It's getting confusing.
Yeah.
Figure it out, racket people.
Yes.
What's the deal?
Right.
Okay, so you're in high school. You get out of high school. What's the move? Do you go to college?
I do. I go to college, Southern Tech.
Okay.
Right here in Marietta.
Amazing.
And studied architecture.
Okay.
And I actually did architecture in high school. So for 2 years, so 11th and 12th grade, took architecture in the trade shop.
Sure.
So bust us over to the trade shop in Gwinnett County, every day, and did architecture. And so carried that into college for a year. And then needless to say, the college didn't invite me back.
All right.
So, which is, okay.
Had a good time.
Had a good time.
Okay.
Had a really good time. And so, little my backstory, okay, is so throughout high school, I was a partier.
Okay.
Okay. Partied too much and really got into way too much along there, and then get into college just really took off. And
just
so
kind of deep dove.
Yeah, I was pretty far down. I will just be honest with you. It was one of those times in my life, and I ended up in treatment at 19 for 8 months and been sober ever since. So
wow.
Just celebrated my 40th year.
Congratulations.
This past October.
That's such a huge achievement.
And it is. And, I always say, the different, I call them markers in life, different things that have carried me, to be who I am today, and big, huge component of it was that, and so I stayed on though after the treatment center had finished as a counselor. So that's I kind of changed my whole trajectory,
Sure.
Profession. And that was my thing. Yeah.
Your Morning Drive is also present to us by Good Days Canned Cocktails. Good Days are a classic cocktail brand created in a convenient, ready-to-drink canned format for any occasion, whether it's a pool day, a boat day, a beach day, a graduation, a wedding, a bar mitzvah, anything in between. Good Days are there for you. Good Days are ahead when they are in your cooler, your fridge, your anything in between. Good Days has your back. If you want to be one of the first to try their drink, you can do so by visiting drinkgooddays.com/pages/find-us to find a store near you selling their drink. Of course, you must be 21 years of age to consume and purchase.
I was going to be a counselor. I was a counselor. Drug treatment center, was going back to school, taking psychology and that kind of thing. And so it carried me up to North Carolina. So moved up to North Carolina to start a drug treatment center for the state of North Carolina. So that's what got me to High Point. And then from there, I met a young lady and, bought my rings from a local jeweler, became friends with them. Real sweet couple, younger couple, and had been open about 6 months. And So kind of became friends with him and started working for him part-time. And he needed some help. And, I was like, hey, I had some extra time. And so it was fun, did the part-time gig for him for about 4 years. Then
What'd you do for him? Just
sales. I would say I'm a natural born salesperson. I remember as a kid, I'd go up to the convenience store, buy a whole bunch of candy, and I'd open a store in my backyard for kids in the neighborhood to come buy candy from.
Look at that.
So,
entrepreneur in the making.
I was, and then I was in junior achievement,
Sure.
throughout high school. And so kind of always had that part of it in me. And so it was a natural thing for me in sales with him, even though I didn't know anything about jewelry, he taught me pretty quickly. And like I said, worked 4 years for him part-time, and then left the treatment center and went on with him as assistant manager, as full-time as assistant manager. And I don't know if you want to ask me more questions.
No. I was seeing if you were.
I can keep going.
Yeah,
I really,
man, keep going.
I can keep going.
Yeah,
so
sure.
So anyway, so like I said, I had met a young lady and bought my rings from them, got engaged and married, and so I was 23. So to be honest with you, I was kind of young and dumb, and everybody else was married around me, and to be honest with you, it was kind of one of the things to do. Just kind of I didn't feel pressured per se, but kind of. But anyway, in hindsight, that lasted about 3 years. And I, decided I wanted to come back to Atlanta.
Sure.
And so basically, say my age again, back then, looking up a job in the paper, was the way to find a job. And the only job in the paper was Jewelry Artisans. And they were hiring for sales. And so I'm like, okay, all right, I'll check them out. I'll do sales for now, and then, look for something else in management or something higher, than just sales. And so call them and then kind of tell them my background and what I'm doing. And they're like, well, we're actually looking for a store manager as well. We're just not advertising it. And I'm like, okay. So we talked, and they ended up hiring me as a store manager. So I was the store manager for 7 years. So with David Geller, of the D. Geller fame, a store here in Atlanta, but that was his dad's store. And he broke off from his dad a long time ago in 73 and opened Jewelry Artisans. So, it's a very long established business, and he's an amazing guy. I mean, he, is built the business based off of custom design and repair. And so just, over the years have moved to locations 3 different times, on top of then me taking it over in 2000. So I bought it from him in 2000. A funny story there. We're out in Vegas at a buying show, and I was really I was running the whole store. I mean, he'd come in, and the cool thing with him, his second legacy besides the store is he developed a pricing book for pricing the jewelry repair and custom design for the industry. So he established a pricing guide for the whole jewelry industry. And this book and this process is sold all around the country and even out of the country. It's amazing. It's what he's done. Revolutionized pricing. So a lot of jewelers have this, we call it the Geller Blue Book. And so it's literally prices anything. So when I first started, it was about 5 pages, and it's probably 200, pages now. And it's really cool. It's really, really super cool. But anyway, so he would come in, to the store and go straight up to his office and work on his book. And so, like I said, I was running the whole show, and I was like, all right, I'm not getting paid enough, and I really, it wasn't even about that as much as I really want to do my own thing.
Right.
And so
you just wanted to do more.
I want to do more.
Yeah.
Correct.
You weren't completely fulfilled.
Yes, that's correct. That's a perfect way to say it. So I basically we were out to dinner in Vegas, and I said, Dave, what's your plans for the business? He said, well, why? You want to buy it? I'm like, yeah, well, I'd love to talk to you about that, And he goes, well, it's funny because I was going to ask you if you wanted to. So we were both there. It was awesome. We were both looking at each other like, okay, wait, maybe this is going to happen then, you know? And so, did the due diligence and everything I needed to do on my end, and him as well. And we came together, and it worked out amazing. Like I said, I bought it January, 1st of 2000. So
January 1st of 2000.
A little over 25 years ago now.
Wow.
It's crazy. It's so crazy to think about. It seems like yesterday.
Really?
I mean, crazy. It is flown. I mean, it really is flown.
Wow, 25 years. That's an achievement as well.
I mean,
Congratulations on
it
that.
is. So this is the 25th anniversary of me owning it this year, So we're going to have a little fun celebration coming up in the fall,
Yeah.
To honor that and, have some fun with it.
Yeah, I would.
So it's really cool. It's cool. I actually just spoke to him the other day, and it was really neat because my son's has just finished jeweler school and is going to come back into the business. And David was, he kind of helped me get him into a jeweler school, which is up in Tennessee. But I was just telling him, thank you, for building such a legacy, in a store, for me to take over, and build upon. And he was just, his response to me was, there's nobody else I would have ever entrusted my store to.
Wow.
Which was super cool
for
him
cool
to say that. I mean,
Very
I was
sweet.
just like, so I just love him to death. He's a great guy. And so, so
Close friends to this day?
Still to this day.
That's awesome, man.
Still to this day. Yeah.
So you said, let me make sure I got it right. So he is the son of the man who started D. Geller and Sons.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Understood.
Yeah. So his little brother is the owner of D. Geller.
Okay.
And now his son's actually taken over.
Okay.
So his son has taken over D. Geller and running D. Geller and their stores. So
sweet.
Good
for them.
It's cool.
That's where I snagged my wife's engagement ring. Was D. Geller and Sons over there in Kennesaw over there. So shout out to them. Cool. So you buy this business January 1st of 2000, and you guys, I'm sure, had all these terms, and you agreed to this, and that, and you bought the business from him. Day one, you walk in. What's that feeling like? Like you walk into the store, you shut the door behind you, and you're like, do you change a bunch of stuff? Do you keep a bunch of stuff the same?
The tie came off.
Really?
The tie came off.
Really?
I've not worn a tie since.
Literally, the tie literally came off.
The tie came off.
No tie since.
No tie since.
Is that like as you're getting ready for work, like throughout the years, are you just like, if I ever own this thing, I'm never wearing this tie again?
Yep. And it's not me. I mean, it's just, I'm not as casual as they come, but I'm pretty casual, pretty laid back. I mean, it's just too stuffy to me.
Sure.
I hated it. It seems stuffy and fake and just that, it's old school jeweler.
Sure.
That's kind of how I looked at it. Right.
Sure.
And for me coming in, some youth and, kind of just really
fresh ideas, fresh perspective.
Yeah. But walking in was like, wow, this is mine.
Yeah.
Really cool. Mine, this is, it already being there for 7 years, that part helped, but it was all of a sudden it was like, wow, now I can really do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And now, which was really cool.
Sure.
Really cool.
And then it's also, that emotional, like, oh my God, this is mine. I can do what I want to do. But then on the other hand, it's like, okay, now I'm the owner. Like before, if the company collapsed, it was this dude's problem, and I was just going to go find another job.
Exactly.
Now I'm the guy who the employees are like, well, I hope the owner knows what he's doing because otherwise we're all out of a job or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you learned by being the store manager over the years, like what it takes to run a business like that. And I'm sure like the moment, how much time bled over from when you first had that conversation in Las Vegas to when you actually purchased the business?
It was about a year.
Okay. So there was a lot of quote unquote onboarding of, little things that you might not have had a hand in because you weren't the owner, things that you were introduced to, processes, all of the above. So there was some time for you to learn the business. It's not like this happened November and January. You bought the business.
Right. Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So it was good because then, of course, he brought me into a lot more of the fold of understanding and this and that. And, I knew 75% of it, but, the 25%'s the unknown part. You go, oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Okay.
Was there anything throughout that year or so that you were just like, oh man, I didn't even know, didn't even cross your mind that I would be responsible for X or that I would have to take into consideration that or anything like that?
No, if there was anything, it would just be, the business license and taxes and, all that part that, his accountant always took care of.
Sure.
Right. then I had to all of a sudden start looking at, I brought my mom in as my bookkeeper. Okay. Before I bought it. So that was kind of cool.
So she could like look at it and just make sure everything, you trust the guy. But
you got it.
It's like, mom, take a quick look at this. Make sure that there's nothing crazy going on.
Exactly.
And she did that. And she was like, no, all is good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That was cool. And my sister. So my sister actually, before my mom, so my sister actually worked for me. I think it was actually a couple years before I bought it. So my sister's still there, so she's going on 32 years, actually longer than that now. God, it goes fast. It goes so fast.
That's insane.
Yeah, it could be about 32 years.
How much of your family at this point is involved in this business?
Well, and then I brought my niece in. Okay. So my sister's daughter is in, and then, like I said, my son. So, got a good bit, it's,
is that the legacy of passing it on to hopefully one of your children?
That's the hope, that's the hope. I mean, I've told my son, years back, I said, it's yours if you want it, but don't feel like you have to. Don't feel pressure. Don't, if you don't, it's okay. Right. And I've always left it like that with him. And then he went off to college, his first year and a half. And then he just came to me and said, Dad, I'm not doing well. I'm not ready. I'm not ready for this. I'm not doing well. And I don't want to waste your money. I said,
that's honorable.
Okay, I appreciate that very much. So he came back home and started working at the business. And then he came to me, it was about 5 months ago, and said, Dad, I want to go to jeweler school and I want to learn how to be a jeweler. I'm like, okay, cool. Because I basically kind of, again, way back when I was talking about the business and different things, I said, there's pretty much 3 pillars that I would require of you, if you were going to take over the business. And one would be to go to jeweler school. Secondly is you go to GIA, Gemological Institute of America, and get your gem and diamond grading and certification. And then also just business courses, accounting, marketing, just to kind of get to know that part of the business as well. So first pillar is down. And so that's a good one, established. He's now literally today was his first day. He graduated this past Friday. So
amazing.
Yeah, super cool.
Shout out to him. Congrats on that.
Love it.
First pillar's down.
So great. And it's really cool to see because he's passionate, which is great. And it's cool to see how he turned around. Like all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is me. This is my thing, And so it was cool. It's really neat. So we'll see. And the beauty is, he is going to be learning from, and I'm not bragging trying to say this, but my jewelers are top 5 in the whole state, easily. I mean, my custom jeweler, they're both Asian. Okay. My custom jeweler is one of the best jewelers, definitely in the city. I'd put him up against one other, that I know of. And so his, what he is going to learn, the apprenticeship under them. Mm-hmm. And my other jeweler is 70 years old. Has been doing jewelry since he was 14. I mean,
Jesus.
Can do anything.
Yeah.
Like anything, no matter what, and it's just like for Aiden to be able to step in and learn from them is priceless. I mean, it really is. Yeah. I'm so excited for that part of it.
It almost seals the deal even better. You're like, oh, first pillar down. Now he's going to go learn from these guys.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, I'm going to go learn to play basketball from Michael Jordan and LeBron.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Right.
Tiger's going to tell me how to play golf.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. And then he just has to go and take, like you said, just learn business, learn accounting, learn sales, learn marketing, learn all these little other hats that you're going to have to wear as the owner. Maybe not every day, but there will be stints in time that you're doing all of those things in addition to owning the business. So now you being the owner, you have to, I assume, replace you with another store manager. Yeah?
Yeah.
Or did you kind of stay as the owner manager until you found that role?
Yeah. So I've also said to him, okay, like that, I want you to be a business owner working on your business and not in your business. So, I enjoy it. Okay. And I mean, still to this day, I've been doing it for a long time, but I still enjoy it. But there's a point where I go, okay, the business sales doesn't need to rely on me. I don't want to be the number one salesperson. So that was one part of it. I don't want him to be the number one salesperson. I want the business to be able to do what it needs to do with the people all around it and not rely on him for that part of it, for the day-to-day operations. That's a while from now kind of thing. Okay. But it's the one thing that, I've talked to him about that part of it, because it is, I'm trying to get away and I'm trying to go, on some trips here and there, and my staff is killing it, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it. I really do. But, does it run better when I'm there? Yeah, overall.
Sure.
Overall. I don't know. Maddie can answer that. Maddie can answer that sometimes, I mean, they love it when I get away, but they also love it when I come back.
Sure.
So it's like, okay, but yeah, so it's little things like that, as he evolves, and, I kind of groom him and help him along the way, it's going to be little things that I can show him, like that. So
were you ever worried about your relationship as father and son? Because of course you didn't take this over from your father. This is something that you purchased, you got in on, and now it's a family business, potentially, hopefully. Were you ever worried before you decided to kind of start training and grooming and kind of preparing your son for this next step eventually, whenever the day comes that you decide to step away? Were you ever worried about like, oh, well, our relationship's always just going to be about business? It's never going to be about father and son anymore. It's more just business partners. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Haven't even thought about it.
Really?
Yeah. Maybe because right now our relationship is great. We're buddies and, hang out, and, he likes hanging out with me and I like hanging out with him, and, we do things, and,
I relate. It's a great phase of life to get to as how old is your son?
21.
Okay. So it's great, especially in your 20s, especially your later 20s, where I'm in right before 30, in a place where my relationship with my mom and dad are more like they're just another one of our friend couples.
Yeah.
Like, if my friends like being around my parents like being around my friends. And it's like, if we're throwing a family party, it's like, hey, invite your friends. Or if I'm throwing a party, I'm going to invite my friends, but I'm also going to invite my parents, because my parents are cool as hell.
Right.
And I like hanging out with them and I like being around them. So that's a great place to be. I used to work at a financial institution, and I would I would service people and help them in a branch for this bank. And kids would always be so annoyed with their parents as like teenagers and stuff. And I'd be like, just wait till you're best friends with your parents. Right now you're thinking, I probably sounded like such an old guy. I was like, back when I was in your shoes, I hated my parents too. But then it gets to a point where you're like, wow, my parents are homies.
Yeah.
And I want to hang out with them because they're actually fun. Like I want to go on vacation with my parents. Yeah. Because they're fun.
Yeah.
And because you probably understand this, and maybe you're not at this phase yet because he is still just 21, but you feel like your parenting job is done. Of course, not counting the little things that he'll come to you for eventually, but your parenting job is done, and they're more of just kind of coexisting in life together at that point. Yeah. So that's exciting. I'm intrigued to see how that develops. But from what it sounds like, I mean, you guys are like me and my dad, where you're tight, you're buddies, you can talk about business, but then you can also separate it and just shoot the shit with each other like you probably do here and there.
Yeah.
Does he live local?
He actually lives with me. But he lives with me.
Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
Anyway,
so that works.
Yeah. So he just moved back in, and after being gone for 3 months. So we'll work on that one. But
Of course. So what makes a good? You talked about these guys that your son's going to learn from, that your jewelers, right? What separates a jeweler from a bad jeweler? On top of that, you can tackle these in any order that you want to. You said you're going to send him to GIA. So what does that mean? And what is jeweler school? Like all of the above. How does all that work?
Okay. Well, let's talk about jewelers first. That's the easy one. So, the difference and it's interesting because I've gone through many jewelers over the years, and I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate mail after I say this, but to be honest with you, there's not very many American jewelers that are good. I just don't see. I'm spoiled rotten with my Asian jewelers because they pay attention to details.
Sure.
All the little extras, polishing inside of a ring when nobody even sees it, is that little extra part that, makes the difference. I mean, it's a big difference. They take pride in their work.
Sure.
They really, it's an ethical thing for them. That's part of how they were raised.
Right. Take pride in what you're doing.
Take
Doesn't
pride
matter what you're
no
doing.
matter what you're doing, and be the best you can be.
Sure.
Overall. And so that's what I've seen, when I'm comparing them with other jewelers that I've come across over the years, and unfortunately I've let jewelers go saying, I'm sorry, your work is just not good enough for us. I mean, we're jewelry artisans. This is what we do, right? And this is what we're known for. And this is what we've done for a long time. And we do it very well. And that's why people come to us, and people bring things that other jewelers have done where they screwed them up and they bring them to us for us to fix. And so there's that component that, is out there, and it's unfortunate, right? I mean, I don't like that part of our industry. I wish it was better overall. Doesn't mean there's not good jewelers. Okay, hear me. I'm not saying there's not good jewelers, but there is a definite difference, and I can see it.
Would you say that, I mean, with totally lost it. That's all right. Anyway,
I'll keep going. So jeweler school real quick, jeweler school for Aiden was 3 months, called speed dating. Okay. Basically, they introduce them to different components of being a jeweler. Okay. Whether it's stone setting, whether it's polishing, whether it's engraving, whether it's hand fabricating, making something from scratch, and literally from, a piece of metal and cutting out and forming and making that from the beginning. And then so those are kind of the different components that they teach them. Right. So now he'll come back and now he'll really have to dive in again and learn from my jewelers the process, okay, you learn this. Okay, now let's take this to a next level of learning how to take the next step. And it'll take him probably about 3 to 5 years to be at a point where he'll be able to do the things most things he can do and do them well. So it's nothing that he can just all of a sudden, because he went to school, can jump in and is going to be a phenomenal jeweler. It will take a while.
Sure.
Especially when I'm giving him my clients' jewelry to work on. That's the area that I go, okay, you've got to work on that, and this. So I've got to make sure that he is at a level that if I do give him something of a client's to work on, that, he's not going to mess it up.
Sure.
It's the worst phone call in the world. You know, I mean, it honestly is. And I've unfortunately have had to make them over the years, but, so that's the component of being a jeweler though. You do make mistakes and you're human and things do happen. And, and fortunately a lot of people understand when I call them and I, let them know they don't like it.
Of course not.
But it's the phone call and I'm honest about it. And, it's, do my best to make it right. And, and then go to GIA. Okay. GIA is Gemological Institute of America. He will be there 9 months, 9-month course out in California. But basically it's learning how to identify gemstones, every characteristics of a gemstone, what the gemstone is, and also learning to grade a gemstone, but also diamonds. So identifying diamonds, you hear the cut clarity, color, all that good stuff, right? Is being able to identify them and grade them as well. So he'll have a graduate gemology degree, graduate gemologist. So that's what most appraisers have. So an appraiser will have a gemology degree in that. So it just gives him another component to learn and know, different gemstones. And when he goes to buy different gemstones and diamonds over the years, he'll know what he's looking at and being able to identify them. So it's another component. A part of it is, for me, everything was hands-on. I mean, I started not knowing anything, and fortunately the sales personality of me, was able to help most people, in that sense. But mine was definitely on the job training over the years and years and years. So
very good.
I can't sit here and say I could identify every gemstone. Okay. I mean, I know a lot of them, but you could bring me some crazy ones. I go, okay, I don't know.
Yeah.
Azurite? I don't know about that one, you know, but
Just
anyway.
say something weird.
Yeah,
and
I
tack
know.
on
People are like,
"ite"
okay.
to the end of it. You're like, whoa, that looks like a damn damnite. And they're like, huh? And you're like, yeah, let me go check it out and verify with my guy real quick. And then you actually come up with what it is.
Yeah,
and they're
right.
like, yeah, not a damnite. Don't know what that was. I remember what I was going to say. So
Yeah.
you talked about having to make like uncomfortable phone calls. You talked about having to let people go. Was there any aspect of the business that no amount of training could get you ready for? Was it maybe the hiring and firing of people? Is uncomfortable conversations something that you thrive at, or at least at the time maybe didn't thrive at? What's your
I'm
thought on that?
horrible at uncomfortable conversations.
Really? Hate
Horrible.
conflict?
I keep employees on way too long. I give them so much rope, you know, and, you know, to the detriment, honestly, you know, I mean, it's hard. It's really hard. And because I'm a very, very caring person. I care about people, deeply care about people. And my psychology counseling background
Sure.
has really played into that, of really giving people the benefit of the doubt and trying to really dive into, okay, what's behind this behavior?
Sure.
Okay. But there's a point where, you know, I can't tolerate the behavior.
Right.
Okay. I've got a business to run. I've got employees. I've got clients, and your behaviors are not
They're not a good
me.
fit anymore.
Exactly. Okay. So, you know, unfortunately I had to fire somebody recently that was been with me and doing amazing when she's there, but everything else behind the scenes and other stuff, it was just, I was done. I can't do it anymore. And
Yeah.
I started having other employees, you know, basically saying, you know, this isn't fair. I come in every time and I'm on time, and I've got 2 girls and I'm a single mom, and she comes in late. It's not fair. So when that starts affecting my employees, you know, it's just, there's a point where you just go, okay, it's got to change. And it's so hard. Firing somebody and letting them go is the hardest part of overall my business. It's just, I hate it. I really do hate it. But when you've gotten to the point where I fire you, I mean, it's
got to be pretty bad.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
It
You got to
really
be
is.
going out of your way to be a shitty employee.
You got
no
it.
offense to the person.
No, it's true. It is. It is. So it's hard. Like I said, I mean, again, I'm a very compassionate person, and, you know, try to really work with them. And
I think a lot of people could empathize with that. I mean, even just the thought of like me having to let somebody go sounds horrible. I mean, I worked at a marketing company years ago, and we hired a summer intern, and the intern was fantastic. But for whatever reason, my boss did not like this intern, and I had to let the person go because I was the operations guy / HR / project management. So, you know, I had to do a bunch of things that I didn't love, including fire this person. Even though it was just an intern job, you know, it was very, very minimal. But even just that conversation, and even afterwards, he was like, "Oh, that's okay, I understand." But like, I thought, I overthought. I was sweating going into it. I was like, "Oh my god, what if this guy what if he cries or something? Like, what am I gonna say? Like, there, or like hand him just slide him the tissue box or something like this." But again, this was just an internship. So if he would have done all that for an unpaid internship, I don't know if he would have given me that reaction. But either way, I hated it. It was the worst feeling because I care a lot about people. I am one of those unfortunate, maybe fortunate, depending on how you look at it, people that no matter where I work, who I work for, I develop such a strong bond with my coworkers and my bosses and their bosses. And I just love people. So the thought of having to let anyone down, really, but letting someone down in that world of you're going to have to go find a new job because your behavior sucks to the point where I can't afford to keep you on anymore. That's a tough spot to be in. That's a horrible chair to have to sit in. Yeah, it sucks for the person being fired. But I mean, like you said, if I've got to fire you, that you need to do some reflecting kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah. You know, and I mean, I've been, interesting enough, I've been fired 2 times in my life. Okay. But it's the best thing that ever happened to me. Yeah. Helped me grow. It got me here. I'm sitting in this chair. Had I not got fired, then, I would be sitting here today.
Yeah,
right. But it also helped me to grow, so it's, hopefully people take it that way. When it does happen, they do reflect. And
I got fired from my first job ever. Fired is a generous term. I worked for free at a golf course when I was 14.
New sponsor alert, everybody. I want to tell you about my new friends over at Value Sesh. Bang for buck doesn't always have to mean cheap quality. For Value Sesh, it means that they're dedicated to offering the best tasting Delta 9 sweets with solid potency at a totally decent price. They are a family company that loves to share good vibes, and their candy always does the trick without breaking the bank. Try their 50-count bags of taffies, pure Wisconsin honey sticks, and a full menu of signature gummies. They're federally legal, ship right to your door. What don't you like about this operation? Their gummies are great. Their taffies are great. All of their products are good. I tried them myself this last weekend, and I am a new customer. So should you. Try out Value Sesh. Go to valuesesh.com to get yours. That's VALUSESH.com so that you can try out their products yourself. You will not regret it. Value Sesh. Sesh for less.
Because my dad's rule was like, if you're not an athlete, you're going to have a job until from the second you can get a job, you're going to get one. And so I went up we lived on a golf course at the time. And my dad was like, you're going to drive our golf cart up to the clubhouse and you're going to ask them for a job. And if they don't give it to you, you're going to keep going up there every day until you have a job. And I was like, all right. And I also took that piece of advice and took it with me the rest of my young life.
Absolutely.
Of show up to the place. Hey, is the hiring manager here? No, they're not here. They'll be back Thursday. Oh, okay. Well, I'll come tomorrow. And they're like, but they won't be here tomorrow. That's okay. I'll be here tomorrow. Just being that consistent face of hey, I want this job. Right. Not just I'm clicking apply and waiting like everyone else does.
I love it. Great advice.
Yeah.
Great advice.
Some of the best advice I think I've ever been given.
Love it.
But either way, I went up to this golf course, was like, I want to work. I'm a kid. I don't want to work. My dad wants me to work. I'm not an athlete. I need something to fill my time. And they said, well, you're 14, so we can't pay you. But what we can do is we can give you free bucket of balls every time you come to the driving range.
Nice.
And I was like, all right. So that was the incentive when I was young to learn how to play golf. And I worked that job and I cleaned carts and I picked up balls off the driving range after the driving range closed. Me and the other team of young middle school, high school guys did it. And one afternoon, one of the dudes was like, let's take the cart out on the driving range and jump some of these hills. And I was like, I was a 14-year-old boy. So I was all right, I got it. That sounds cool.
Right. He knows it's okay.
Club owner didn't think it was fun.
Right.
So he was like, yeah, today's your last day. I was like, that's okay. I understand. I was like, do I still get the buckets of balls? And he was like, no. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
I can so see that happening. I love it.
So worse than being fired by your first job ever that wasn't even paying you was having to go and tell my dad,
of course,
the avid golfer, hey, I got let. Of course, I lied and blamed it on the kid suggested it. I was like, yeah, he just asked me if I wanted to do it, and I just said, sure, and I just rode in the cart. My dad was like, you were there. And I was like, he was like, you could have ended your shift and driven home, but you decided to. All in all, it taught me to not be an idiot in the workplace. 14. One thing I wanted to talk to you about is this. And I know it's not a new thing, but I've talked to a lot of friends and family that have gotten engaged recently or married recently or purchased diamonds in general recently. And there's a lot of rage right now. Not rage meaning not anger, but popularity in the rise of lab-grown diamonds. Right. In fact, my wife's ring is a lab-grown diamond.
Okay, there you go.
Explain to the folks at home that are like, what the hell is a lab-grown diamond?
Okay, so a lab-grown diamond is a diamond. Man has just learned, like they've done with so many things in this world, how to create something in a laboratory, and so they've expedited the process. A lab-grown diamond is a diamond. Okay, you're going to have color clarity and carat weight and all the things you have, with a natural mined diamond, a lot less expensive. Truth be told, it was, when it first came out, all of us jewelers were,
We're like, what the hell?
poo-pooing it, on one end, and then another end going, hey, we can make some good money on these things, because the price of them when they first came out, they were expensive.
Really?
Very expensive. And then unfortunately, everybody and their mother got on the bandwagon of creating them, all these manufacturers, and flooded the market. And then all of a sudden they had to start lowering their prices, and they were cutthroating each other, and, and it's brought the prices way down, way down. So, when it first happened, I poo-pooed it, and I was like, oh man, this is not a natural diamond. This is, it's not fake. Okay. But to me, it was fake, right?
Sure.
Because it didn't come out of the ground. Right. But I will be honest and say over the last several years, I'm okay with them. My spiel when I'm showing an engagement ring is, and I put it back on my clients and say, look, if you want this diamond to be an heirloom diamond that you want to pass down a generation, then I would do a natural. If you don't care about the next generations and passing this thing down, then do a lab all day long, because that's really that's really the bottom line, because the value, of a lab versus a natural is different, and especially longevity wise, because of that reason.
Sure.
So that, again, for earrings, for jewelry, I mean, you're going to get this from anybody though, overall. You're going to get some people that are going to jump on the bandwagon of, it's more ethical, ethically sourced and so forth. My argument to this is, how do you make a lab diamond? You make it in a laboratory with very, very high electricity and heat. Okay. Burning tons of electricity. How do you get electricity? Through coal. How do you get coal? You mine coal. Okay. So you rape the earth either way. Right. So there, it's a little bit of that part of ethical part of it, the other parts, for diamonds, they're the misnomer, I think, still exists that, the mining companies are, raping and pillaging, these villages and taking advantage of them and so forth, which is not the case. I mean, they pump so much money back into these villages, giving them water, schools, buildings. I mean, giving them a much better quality of life.
They're not just running in, taking what they want and leaving.
Exactly. Which used to be the case a long time ago. Okay. But it's so different today than it used to be. The allure of still a natural diamond, just like a sapphire and just like any other gemstone that comes out of the earth, there's still that super cool part of it, that these have been buried for years and years and years. And so, again, it's for each person to make their decision on. It's not for me to say overall, what they should decide to do. I mean, I sell both, and it's up to them, just like you, why did you buy a lab? What was,
I think what turned me on initially was the fact that it was significantly cheaper. It was a fraction of the cost. The salesperson, they put 2 rings on the counter and they said, one of these is, I want to say fake. One of them is lab grown. One of them is natural. And I said, at that time, I was like, what the heck does lab grown mean? Because immediately when you say lab grown, I'm thinking of like a plant, and like you put a seed in soil and it grows into this thing. Like, how do you sprout a diamond? How does that work? And then they kind of explained similarly. And I was like, okay, interesting. And luckily I brought my wife's best friend with me, and I was like, what do you think? And she was like, mine's a lab grown diamond. And I was like, oh. She was like, do you think she'd care if I got her a fake diamond rather than a natural one? And she was like, no. So I did. And eventually I was kind of afraid to tell her at first, because I didn't know what her reaction was going to be, because we never talked about lab grown, because I don't know. I'm a dude. I don't pay attention to stuff like that. But now I know. And I went to her and I was like, hey, your ring is actually lab grown. She was like, oh, so you saved $1? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, good for you, dude. And I was like,
I married the right woman right here. Man. There we go. Right.
And I mean, again, like they set them side by side, and to my eye, I can't tell.
Yeah.
To her eye, that means she wouldn't be able to tell either.
And you're not going to be able to tell.
So,
I mean, this is the difference. The difference that I run into is, the ladies nowadays, they just want a big. They like big, and they want big. Yeah. And so they can, their boyfriends can afford, a lab diamond, a big lab diamond. Yeah. I mean, I've had some 26-year-olds come in, together, the couple together, and she's trying on a 4 carat, and they've asked my opinion. I said, it's too big. You're 26 years old. What 26-year-old walks around with a 4-carat diamond on their finger? And then I always go to the guy, what are you going to do from here?
Right.
You're going to go
Where do you
5,
go
6,
up?
5, 6, 7, 8, 10?
Yeah.
You know, I said,
It's not realistic.
go down to a 2.5, a 2.5. Okay. It's still a nice size diamond. Right. So that's, you know, I still am going to jump in. I'm going to say my opinion on things,
Sure.
you know, because of that reason. Because you don't, I mean, and not that it's bad. I mean, it's becoming so much more acceptable nowadays, okay, to have a lab diamond.
Sure.
I said, you know, so, you know, you're going to see a 26-year-old with a big old rock on her finger. You know, it's a lab grown diamond.
Sure.
That's not a natural,
Right.
you know, and you know what he does for a living.
Right.
Okay. He can't afford a $60,000 diamond,
No.
you know, or a $70,000, $80,000 diamond. Right.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, exactly. And so there is a point on these that you go, wow, okay. You know, they're not the same as they used to be. So, you know, it's, again, I sell both, and, you know, I get clients that they want a natural and she wants a natural. I always do say, and I appreciate what you did, but I always tell the guy, you need to make sure she knows.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I've had over the years, okay, you know, a lady comes in, she wants to get a ring cleaned, right, or something. And then we look at it and go, okay, just need to let you know this is a CZ. You know that, right? Cuba zirconia. And they look at me and go, what? Because I have to let them know, because I'm taking it to the back,
Right.
to clean. Okay.
Sure.
So all of
You
a
gotta
sudden,
make
if
sure everything's disclosed
you
up
got
front.
it, right? And I get this, wait, what? I'm going, oh, crap. In my mind, I'm going, oh, dude, you're so screwed.
Yeah.
You know?
You're like,
And
well,
I'm like,
sorry to be the person that has to tell you this, but
you
your
know what?
ring
And then they
is
give
a
it back. They go,
lab
okay,
grown.
well, thank you very much. And take it back. And I'm like, you know what, though? You know what? That relationship wasn't, you did not want that dishonesty in a relationship, you know? So that's what I say about labs. You know, you need to disclose it. You need to ask her, you know, if you have to ask her if she's okay with it or not, but make sure she knows.
Sure. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense, man. I wanted to ask you, completely off subject of all of this, is you made sure to mention to me in the initial, did you fill out the thing initially, or did you fill out the thing initially? Okay, you did.
I did.
Saltwater aquariums.
Oh, that
What's
was.
where did that come from?
I've been a scuba diver since I was 20.
That's badass.
So love it.
I've never been.
So it is, I have a 150 gallon, you know, one right in my den, you know, so it sits right there, you know, watching TV, and my aquarium's right there, and my fish and my corals are rocking it and loving it. And so it's like my, you know, when I can't dive, I can just go sit there, you know, and look at my aquarium and just enjoy it. And so it's so much fun. It's just, I just got back from Fiji, went to Fiji last month for 2 weeks, and it was just one ginormous aquarium. I was just in heaven. I was like looking at, and then I would go, oh, I have that fish. Oh, I have that coral. Oh, I want that fish. I want that coral. You know, and the joke is with the guy that takes care of my tank, you know, every time I go on a trip, he's like, you always go, okay, what's your list? What do you want? You know, and I'm like, you know, so it's just fun. I just love it.
Any wild encounters you've had while scuba diving over the years?
No, you know what?
Nothing crazy?
No. I've dealt with sharks and rays and turtles, and, you know, sharks don't bother you. You know, sharks are super cool. You know, you got to know what your environment is. You have to know what kind of sharks there are, you know,
Sure.
and so forth. I mean, you know, you're not going to
know what to do if and when things go awry. You got to know what not to do, what to do.
Correct.
Yeah. Because my greatest fear on planet Earth is sharks.
Is it?
Or less so sharks, because I think they're fascinating.
Yeah.
But more so, I think like the fear of like, what's the word for it? Like thalassophobia or whatever, the fear of like really deep water and not being able to see like the bottom.
Yeah.
That's more the fear. And then the thought of like being down in there, you know, flippers flipping, and then like there's a shark down there. And it's like, okay, like, what do I do?
Enjoy
like,
them.
This could be a life or death situation.
Could be.
Might not be, based on statistics.
Do you drive on 285?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm more likely to die on 285 than by a shark attack. That's a great great
but yet you drive on it every day.
I was going to
or,
say,
I mean, you know,
statistics would say
I mean,
that this will not be a life or death situation.
yeah,
But,
exactly. You know, I mean, yes, correct.
I would love, I often tell people I would love to do my, Your Morning Drive's the name of the podcast, but my parent company above, that holds the podcast and some of the other things that I do is called Hammerhead.
I love it. Yeah.
And
I love it.
I was like, it'd be pretty badass if I achieved some milestone and then was like, to celebrate, we're going to go and like swim with hammerhead sharks.
Absolutely.
I don't know where you would do that at.
There's plenty of places. Plenty of places.
I'm just thinking of it terrifies me, but how badass would it be to say that I've done that? Have photographic evidence that I did that.
I have a picture on my desk that shows me diving with sharks, and one coming just basically, the picture is me sitting there and him coming right in front of me. And it's almost like we're like, eye to eye, just looking at each other like, dude, and it was so cool.
That's
it was
insane.
So cool. It's
got to be one of those moments where you're like, sure, there is this thought in the back of your head of like, shit could go wrong here. But also it's this level of like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
Like I said, like, they're so fascinating to me. Just the thought that they're just right now, they're just like out there swimming, doing whatever they're doing. That's so cool. But like, again, like if I'm one-on-one with one, I'm freaking out. Maybe my social media feeds serve me too many videos of people getting eaten
and
by
it does
sharks.
Probably that might be
social media doesn't help,
right? Yes, yeah.
But
they got you pegged, and they're going to send you as much of those as possible. But I tell you, it's a whole different world being down below.
Really,
and just breathing underwater with fish right there, and looking at, like, my favorite thing is to get up on the corals at about 40, 45 feet, right? And just sit there and look at all the little things,
just doing their thing.
All the little marine life that are on this reef, doing their thing day to day, is so cool. It's just, in diving, and you see the turtles and the sharks and the rays, and they're cool. But after a couple of days of that, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More big fish.
Yeah. I mean,
but they're little
cool
ones that have such a strong impact on the ecosystem.
Every bit of it. And all the corals and the live corals and just the colors. And I mean, it's
beautiful.
It's beautiful.
I'd love to do it. That's something I will do at some point. But
and when you get down and you see the beauty, you just kind of forget about the fear per se. Okay. Yeah. I mean, and they're not like sharks are around everywhere.
Right.
Okay. I mean, I've gone on plenty of dives, even wanting to see one and never saw one.
Really?
Okay. So it's not like they're all over the place.
So they're just like stalking every boat that comes out.
Right. Yeah.
We went to, me and my family, siblings, parents, wife, we went to Cancun in February, and we did an excursion where we went out, we did some hiking, but then there was a point in the excursion where we went out and dove, I don't want to say dove, we snorkeled on the surface above a little reef and saw some rays, saw some turtles. Of course, I'll have to show you the picture here in a second, but we had one of the parts of the excursion is that there was this professional photographer following us the whole time and just taking unbelievable pictures, especially the underwater ones. But there was this rule that our tour guide or whatever said right before we started. She was like, okay, when we dive, there will very likely be animals, rays, turtles, fish. Don't touch them. Let them be them. Don't touch them, mainly because you don't want to disturb them. But also there's a slight liability there. Like what if you disturb an animal and it gets pissed off and then attacks or something, So it gets to this point where she whistles or something. And she's like, guys, a sea turtle. And so we're all like kind of hovered around and really just kind of like right here in front of me, like at this distance, there's just this pretty decent sized sea turtle. And it's beautiful. The way the sun hits the shell, it's just gorgeous. Yeah. But then like, out of nowhere, and in the picture you can see it, like you just see this hand come out and like touch the shell, and you just hear like, what is going on? We just said that to touch it. It's my brother, and I'm like, I get out of the water, I'm like, you fucking moron. Like,
exactly.
She just said not to touch the animals. The turtle didn't care. The turtle probably thought it was cooler, but just gorgeous seeing it like in person.
I know.
Finding Nemo only does so much, but seeing them in person,
absolutely.
God, they're gorgeous.
They're majestic.
But then
Absolutely
I saw Ray
majestic.
and I was like, you killed Steve Irwin. You son of a gun. You killed my guy.
Yeah.
My 10-year-old hero.
I know. Hard. That was a
But-
hard one.
Yeah.
You know.
I remember where I was.
You know, again, you get to the odds. You know, he's been around, you know, hundreds of thousands of.
Oh, the fact that he
know,
didn't die sooner is
yeah.
kind of a miracle.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, or at least injured, you know,
Yeah.
pretty badly or something, considering everything.
Dude could have been snatched at
Right.
any point.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was a stingray that took him out,
Yeah.
which is
I know.
crazy.
I
It's
do
crazy.
remember that. Yeah.
Jamie, there comes a point in every conversation I have with all my guests where I ask them a collection of questions that really have nothing to do with the nature of why they came to the show in the first place. They have nothing to do with your business.
Okay.
They have everything to do with you, who you are as just an everyday dude. Take the business out. Who are you as a person? That's what these kind of collection of, they're kind of like first date kind of questions,
Got it.
but just trying to get to know you on a personal level as well. You ready for them?
Of course.
What is your favorite movie?
Oh. All right. So nostalgic wise, okay, will be Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Okay. My buddy and me growing up, and I mean, after treatment, you know, he's my best friend. Okay. But he became my best friend, you know, after treatment we met, and has been my best friend ever since. And we used to watch the movie almost every weekend.
Sure.
I mean, literally. And so, you know, for nostalgic reasons would be that one. I love all the Star Wars movies. I love Star Wars. Shawshank is,
Great.
I mean, right up there. You know, it's probably, yeah.
It might
It might be number one. You know,
Did you go and see, were you able to catch Revenge of the Sith when it was re-released back in
no,
theaters?
my son did though.
I did too.
He did too. He did. He told me he was up in Tennessee,
Oh,
and he
so
said, "Dad,
good.
I went." Well, it happened like right around May 4th.
Yeah.
But they released it like 3 or 4 days before May 4th.
Yep.
Right. And I'm like, why would you release it before May 4th?
Yeah.
Like, why would you not release it on May 4th?
Right.
You know, May the 4th be with you. Did you know that, Maddie? Okay, just
No.
checking.
Maddie did
You
not
know?
know that?
She-
Oh, okay, I was about to say, damn.
yeah.
Might
Anyway,
need to talk about that firing conversation
Yeah.
again.
you know, so it's like, you know, but yeah, he saw it. I didn't see it. I didn't.
Oh man,
you
it was
know, but
killer.
I'll
Because
bet.
I think I don't know how old I was when Revenge of the Sith came out in theaters or when the prequels. I think those were like the early 2000s. But man,
well, you got to remember, okay, when the first Star Wars came out in the 70s.
yeah. Were you there?
Absolutely. So you have to remember, you know,
Oh,
that's, I mean, so, you know, to this day, I still look at that movie and go, how in the heck
Did they do it?
did they do it? I mean, you know, and I've watched all the behind the scenes things, but it's still like,
Still doesn't make sense.
it doesn't make sense. You know,
How
that
they were able to pull it off.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just actually finished reading a biography about George Lucas, and it was really well written, and it talked all about it. And as I'm hearing, well, I say I read, it was an audiobook.
Yeah.
As I'm listening to it, and the guy is narrating and talking about how Star Wars came to be and how George Lucas only ever wanted to make one movie, didn't want to do sequels, he didn't want to do any of this thing, and now it's like the biggest franchise on the planet, or the most recognizable movie on the planet.
Yeah.
It's just wild to see how it happened.
I know.
But the first Star Wars movie I saw in theaters was The Force Awakens back in like
Oh,
2018.
wow. Okay.
So even just seeing like the crawl in theaters, you know, a long time ago, and
Yeah.
that was so like, looking back, I might have cried. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Isn't it?
These movies I was watching as a kid, and now it's back.
Crazy.
And it's, you know, incredible today.
Yep. Yep.
So that's awesome. I love those answers. First job ever. First time you collected a paycheck.
Oh,
And was
worst-
it one of the times
worst
that you
job
got
ever.
fired?
no, it wasn't. It was the worst job ever. So speaking of, you know, moving here, you know, when I was 14, becoming friends with Michael, a guy lived a couple doors away. And literally my first job over the next summer with him was roofing commercial buildings here in Atlanta. Okay. This would be waking up 5:30 in the morning. Okay. Going to the job site, you know, climbing up on this roof, chopping with a hatchet. Okay. The tar paper and rocks to rip the old roof off.
Oh, that
first of all.
sucks.
Okay. And then having to literally hoist buckets of hot tar from the bottom all the way up, you know, hoist them up. And then you have to carry these across, the roof, right? And literally you're sweating,
Right.
and the sweat would hit the tar. The tar would spatter up on your arm, and you couldn't drop the bucket.
Anyway, just
And hot as Hades. Okay. I mean, if it was already 95 degrees in Atlanta in the middle of summer,
the fact that you're standing on the roof,
120 easily,
carrying
right?
the tar, you're sweating bullets.
Oh my gosh. I would come home, we'd finish around 3:30, 4 o'clock. I'd come home. My mom would make me dinner. I would take a shower and I'd go to bed. I mean, and that was summer.
It kills you.
It was the worst, but it did every time I drive by these, when they're redoing the roads and the smell. Oh, it's like, it takes me back to that time. Worst job. And it's the one job that told me I would never want to do laboring like that. Ever.
You weren't set out to find that out about yourself, but in that moment you were like, I'm glad I did this, because if there was ever a glimpse of a hope that I would go into any other industry, now I know roofing is not it.
Exactly. Oh, it's brutal. Brutal.
Next up, you get to organize a music festival for yourself.
Oh, wow.
Your 3 headliners that you get to pick. And
Wow.
you get to,
okay.
they're alive or dead, but you don't care about ticket sales. You don't
Okay.
care about any of that crap.
Okay.
You're essentially just organizing 3 headliners to perform for you.
Well, Van Halen's number one. Van Halen with David Lee Roth and Eddie. I mean, that's number one.
Sure.
Man, Pearl Jam would be number 2.
Great choice.
And then, which is going to be eclectic, okay, would be Casting Crowns. So
That's
Casting
a great
Crowns,
lineup.
I mean,
You
it's
and
like,
my father.
I mean,
You and my dad, man. Pearl Jam. Man.
so
Dude,
it's like.
Pearl Jam, underappreciated, I feel like.
Oh my gosh. I saw them in the Fox here.
Yeah.
Okay. When they just released Alive.
Yeah.
On one of my favorite concerts of all time.
Wow.
I even had a bootleg, of the concert back then.
That's awesome.
Oh, it was amazing. But I've seen Van Halen 14 times, so it's
14
times. Yeah.
Good
I've
God.
got Eddie's pick. I've got a picture with Eddie, and
That's
it's
awesome, dude.
it was by far my favorite.
That's
Still to
awesome.
this day.
That's sick. I love that. On a day that you're not working in any capacity, which I'm sure is few and far between, what do you do to recharge? How do you take care of yourself? I know you love to scuba dive. How do you, if you're not going anywhere exotic to do that, how do you recharge? What do you do to take care of yourself?
So Sundays are a good example. Sundays are, go to church, come home and just chill. I watch soccer, watch a soccer game on TV, or, like this past Sunday, went to Atlanta United game. I have season tickets. So either Saturday night, I'm going to go to Atlanta United game if they're in town. If they're in town, I'm going to a game. That's for sure. One thing.
I've not been to one yet.
Oh, dude, okay. I got to take you. I mean, seriously. Okay. Oh, wait, I will. I've got season tickets. I've got extra ones, and be happy to. I mean,
that'd be sick.
You need to. Even if you're not into soccer, man, you'll appreciate it. I mean, they put the whole stadium is just great.
Yeah,
it really is.
It's a beautiful stadium.
I mean, it's great, and the crowds. I've been a season ticket holder from the beginning of time. From when they first started. So, it's been hard because we won the championship the second year. Okay. So we're at the pinnacle here,
right.
And then over the last years, we've kind of, really gone down. And this year, even, we should be playing way better than we are, but we'll see.
I've just heard the energy is ape shit.
It is.
I mean, it's just different.
It is.
Like than any other sporting event, period.
It is. It is. The passion is just amazing. It really is. It's great.
Maddie confirms.
I'm a sports girl. I love the Braves, but it just doesn't even compare.
Yeah.
I've been to Falcons games. I've been to Hawks games.
No one's getting excited at Falcons games.
But I've been to it all, and it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we'll have to go. That'd be sick. That'd be a great time.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I want to talk to you a little bit about the company that makes your morning drive happen every week. Are you looking to elevate your business and your brand? Hammerhead Creations is here to help. They offer top-tier marketing services, including social media management, website design, and Google page optimization, ensuring your business reaches the right audience. Whether it's a side hustle or your full-time grind, their expert team, me, is ready to help you grow.
Plus, if you're into podcasting like me, Hammerhead Creations offers full support for both in-house shows and external podcast creation. From concept to production, we will help you bring your ideas to life. Visit www.hammerheadcreations.com and discover how we can take your business or your podcast or both to the next level. Hammerhead Creations, swim with the big sharks.
And then I like movies.
There you go.
I like movies.
You go to the movies ever?
You know what? My son and I love going to movies. We always we'll be doing Mission Impossible here. We've already talked about it.
Yeah.
He's back. We're going next weekend.
I might check that out tomorrow night.
So that's, so we try to hit, the biggies,
Of course.
him and I. So we're definitely Marvel fans. So we've always,
Heck yeah.
every Marvel movie that comes out,
Of course.
we'll
You're there as soon as you can be.
You got it.
Of course.
You got it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I love that. We talked about good advice earlier. What's some of the best advice you've ever been given, and who gave it to you?
That's funny. Interesting. I actually, interesting enough, had a conversation with one of my employees very recently, but a long, long time ago, David gave me this advice: "Ye complaineth too much." And I'm like, interesting. Very interesting. Two sets of advice. Okay. That one, which helped me a lot to appreciate and go, didn't realize it. Like there's, not getting into the whole psychology thing, but there's parts of us that we don't know about. It's our blind side, right? Other people know it, but we don't know it, right? And until people tell us, we're not aware of it, right? And so anyway, so that was one of them. It was an interesting thing. He was very not confrontational at all either.
Sure. And
left me this little bitty thing on my phone that said that, just typed out. And I'm like, okay. All right. Anyway, that one. The other one was how I'm very active in my brain. Let me say it that way, right? And so many things are going on, like running the business and this, and right? And all the things. And so I'm very much about like, all right, Logan, hey, dude, will you take this coffee cup and da, 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 right? And instead of, Logan, dude, do you have time? Can you take this over and fill it up and bring it back to me? Do you have time to do that for me?
Sure.
See the difference versus just, but in my mind, I'm like, this needs to be done.
Right.
Okay. Logan, dude, you're in front of me. Can you do it? Right. Instead of asking.
Man, we're similar.
Okay. Instead of asking. And that's so huge.
Yeah.
Okay. Because once I explain to an employee how I work, I say, you know what? It's okay to say, Jamie, stop. Okay, I've got all these other things going on. Is this coffee cup getting filled up? Need to happen right now? Is that important? Is that what you want? Just so you know, I have these other things. Okay, it's okay, if that's what you want. But, and I've told him that. And I've said, it's okay to say that to me.
And you're like, wow.
Right?
In some of those moments, you're like, wow, thank you for that.
I do because it's one of those
you're
things
just caught up in it.
Totally caught up in it. And in my mind, but then they're on the other end going, I've got all these other things to do. Hello, why don't you get so-and-so to do it? Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Makes perfect sense.
So those are two kind of in there that I would say.
Those are good. Both of those are good advice. I also complain too much, working on it. What's your biggest fear?
Okay, let's say it's changed over the years, right? My biggest fear was always that, my son, growing up, a gorgeous kid. Okay. Beautiful kid. Still is. Okay. Still is. But I had the fear of him getting kidnapped. That was like,
oh, wow.
I don't know why, other than, just the fact that he could be a kid that someone would want to. Kind of thing.
Interesting.
And so I I'm not like fear driven. I have a strong faith.
Sure.
So it's things I can squelch pretty quickly, but so, he's not going to necessarily get kidnapped today, at 21 as much as he could.
It's a little harder now.
Yeah, a little bit, so that kind of changed. Logan, I know this is going to sound crazy to you, but I don't live in fear.
That's a perfectly acceptable answer.
I don't. I really don't live in fear.
Yeah.
I 2010, quick story about the business real quick.
Sure.
Is 2010, the economy was crap.
Piss poor.
Horrible. We had just moved to our newer location, 2006, pumped tons of money into it. You know, I mean, it was just doing really, really, I mean, it was hard. I mean, I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna keep the doors open kind of thing. And on the way in one morning, I stopped at my church at the altar, bawling my eyes out and said, Lord, I'm done. It's yours. I can't do this anymore. Okay. I can't live this way. It's yours. If you want to keep it open, you'll keep it open. And if you want to close it, I trust you. You'll move me to something else. And I trust you.
Wow.
2010.
15 years ago.
15 years ago.
You're still here.
Still here, you know, and have, you know, definitely gone through another cycle of different things and this and that. But, you know, it's just one of those that, I mean, I'm blessed beyond belief. You know, like I said, David left me with an amazing business to build off of. And so, you know, we have just really carried that legacy on, and it's fun. It's fun. Maddie, we like looking at our reviews and building them, you know, and just kind of like, oh, how many we have left? 10 more? 10 or something like that to get to 600 or something like that, or 500 or something.
We're at 700 now.
Or okay, see, she knows way more than me, but it's just one of those pinnacles of, you know, just, you know, reading what people have to say about us and then making sure that's what we deliver. That's the other part, you know. But that's the fun part, you know, is hearing that and just, you know, the joy, you know, it's a fun business. I love it. It's because it's a fun business, you know, and it's, for that reason, you know,
yeah,
it's fun.
Yeah.
The highest highs or lowest lows with some of the people we've known forever.
Yeah.
People, parents passing, people getting married. Like you see people through.
You just see everybody through all the stages of life.
You know, the kids grown, you know, when they come in and a playroom. Okay.
Right.
Kid would come in a playroom and, you know, then now he's in college, you know, it's like, oh yeah, I remember I used to come in that playroom and play. Oh, you know, and it's just like, yeah, dude, I remember when you were like,
yeah,
you know, and, or doing engagement rings for him.
Yeah.
That's like the craziest,
like,
you know.
You came here for the first time with your parents that were looking to upgrade. And now you're here trying to buy your first ring. Like that's crazy.
It's cool. I love it. It just warms my heart, man, when they come in and do that, or their parents say, hey, you know, so-and-so he's thinking about getting married and I want to send him over to you. And I'm like, it's just so cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
A couple more, man.
Yeah.
What does success look like to you?
Oh. Being happy and content. You know, I mean, I'm not, you know, one of those that has to make a gazillion dollars. I have what I have and I'm fine and life's good. And, you know, I think success comes back to going back to reviews, what people have to say, you know, making sure that my success is that we're delivering how I want us to deliver it and do what we need to do in our store to help people and bring joy to their life. Because that's what it's all about. That's why I do this, to bring joy to others, you know. Through what we do. Like I said, it's you know, overall it's a happy business, you know, but it's just bringing joy to people. That's my thing.
Then in those terms, then are you successful?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Lastly, Jamie, what is your main motivator? What pushes you? What gets you out of bed in the morning? What is your morning drive?
Serve people. Serve people. I love serving. However I can serve.
Incredible.
You know, I love people. I'm a people person.
Yeah.
Love them. You know, I am.
Yeah.
I am. You know, and real quick with my son.
Sure.
You know, talking about that is the fun part of how I've seen him evolve into, I wouldn't call him, you know, he's not an introvert, but he's not an extrovert. He's kind of in between, right?
Sure.
You know, he's very much, you know, my ex-wife and I. I mean, it's, you know, you can kind of see components of both, right? But the fun part is him being back in the business or coming into the business. And the times I have a client walking in, you know, I'm like, oh, Aiden, come downstairs and meet so-and-so, you know, because they've known him since he was a baby or before, you know, I mean, they've known me for a long time.
Sure.
And so just introducing them, right? So this is an example. So talking to one client, you know, I walk away and then I come back and he's gone and they're like, okay, I love your son. Okay. He's awesome. And I'm going to tell you something. I asked him, I said to him, well, I hope your dad's paying you really well. And he goes, oh, he doesn't pay me. He said, but, you know, I have a place to stay and I have a car and I have car insurance and I have, you know, and I'm like, and they're like, you know what 21-year-old says that? You know what I
Not
mean?
many can.
Not many can. And for him to say that the way it is, his gratefulness as well is, I just know that he's going to do great with the business. I trust that. His demeanor with people is awesome. He's super likable, Yeah. And he is very even, so I have fun with that.
That's awesome,
I have a
man.
lot of fun with that, seeing that.
That's awesome, man. I love that. Well, now I'll give you the spot as if we haven't, talked about what you do in the business and everything over the course of the last hour and a half, but advertise. Tell the people where you're at, how to find you, what you offer, and everything in between.
Okay, cool. So we're up in the Perimeter Mall area, the Perimeter Business District is, we like to call it because that's what it is. And so we've been there. I've been in that location for 18 years.
Okay.
Again, we've been in business a little over 50 years. So the business is, half of my business is custom design and jewelry repair restoration. Full-time designer Beatrice, who's absolutely a delight and an amazing designer. And then, like I said earlier, I have two jewelers. One is my jeweler who does all my repairs and restoration. And now I've added one other young lady, just hired her. She's been with me a couple of weeks. She works one day at the bench and then also helps Beatrice in design. So that's fun, have this new apprentice coming up, young girl. And then, like I said, my son coming on. So growing the bench, the area is really cool and fun seeing that happening. In showroom wise, I'm very proud of my showroom. I think it's pretty and it's a nice look, but we offer, all bridal in every capacity, from engagement rings to wedding bands to men's bands, and a great selection of men's bands. Super unique in so many aspects. So just not your, not going to say boring gold band, because that's coming back big time.
It is coming back.
Big time, like crazy.
A bunch of my buddies got them, and I was
know.
like,
it's crazy.
I'm surprised to see that, if I'm honest.
It's crazy. So I'm not poo-pooing that, but I'm
Sure.
just saying there's a great selection of men's bands. And then, the rest of the showroom is just really I like to, it's couture jewelry. We like to be unique, hence the jewelry artisan name, in what we carry. I mean, do have some traditional things that, diamond studs and diamond tennis bracelets and so forth. But then I hope that what most people see is, just really unique designs, different, that they're not going to see everywhere else. And that's us. That's what I like, is that we're different than most jewelers around in what we do and what we offer. Like I said, the tie came off when I bought it. A joke is I want to do a campaign over the summer that we're Atlanta's most casual jeweler, and we're all in t-shirts, shorts, and sandals. Because we are. I mean, we're super laid back. Really, I feel like I'm a pretty easy guy to get along with. And that's how I want my store to be. I want everybody, when they walk in, to be relaxed. When they come in, I don't want, my dog Milo used to be in the store, and it was one of those things that, I'd hear people even walk in, because my store can be a little pretentious. I mean, it's a really beautiful store, but all of a sudden they have a dog. Oh, they're cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it brings that level down really quickly.
It takes the pressure off.
And that's how I want them to feel when they walk in.
Right.
Okay. I want them to get that warm welcome and
Sure.
just like, oh, okay. All right. These guys are, seem nice and family and cause that's, again, I just love the relationships that we've established over the years with clients. I mean, client this morning, she texted me, and wants to bring her husband in because he wants to get her a 50th anniversary diamond band, and they've been my clients predate me at Jewelry Artisans, so they've been clients that long.
Wow.
And so
That's
just
loyalty.
being able to do that though for their 50th anniversary,
What an honor.
is great. I mean, I had the biggest smile, on my face when I saw that text today. But we do some other services. We do a lot of gold buying, a lot of jewelry buying in general, diamonds, whatever. And what I'm finding is that a lot of generations are changing. Okay, so, grandmother stuff to mother stuff is not, per se what your wife's going to wear. And so now generations are passing and stuff's getting handed down. So we buy a lot of that. And I tell people all day long, it's money sitting in a drawer.
Yeah.
All day long.
True.
Especially with gold prices where they are. We're talking about thousands and thousands of dollars for just this handful.
Really?
A handful that fits in your hand is thousands and thousands of dollars worth of value. And I tell people all day long, I said, you know what? Okay, great. You get a little bit more for it if you turn around and use the money in the store. Buy yourself some things you'll wear and enjoy.
Sure.
Okay, but go on a trip.
Yeah.
Buy a new refrigerator.
Right.
Get tires for your car. I mean, things that are,
Do something that you might not have maybe been able to do.
correct. I
But
had
you've
that
got
conversation.
grandpa's old ring laying around, and
Yeah,
who knew that it was worth $500?
got it. Go buy yourself a purse.
Oh yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Just buy yourself something that you wouldn't normally spend money on.
Sure.
Because it's quote unquote free money. Even if it's yours, you've used it all these years. Okay. You've got your money's worth out of it. Get your money back out of it and use it. So it's really I have this conversation probably 2 to 3 times a day. Plant the seed about people. What do you have in jewelry box?
Sure.
What do you, and then a lot of times we take all that stuff and redesign it. So our custom business that's the seed is we plan to say, hey, take all this other stuff, grandma's diamonds, yours, and put them together into something that you'll wear and enjoy. And that's where our custom business is off the charts. It's amazing. It's doing great. Maddie, what am I missing?
Socials?
Socials.
Okay.
What's that handle? Wow, you're the marketing manager. Not anymore. You're hiring Logan to be your new marketing manager.
It's Logan, yeah.
That's me.
We're Jewelry Artisans on Instagram and Facebook.
Jewelry Artisans on Instagram and Facebook.
JewelryArtisans.com is our website.
And then add a .com to that for the website.
And then I believe our handles, we've tried to keep them just Jewelry Artisans.
Sweet. Very cool. Very cool. Guys, I'll make sure to put the link to their website, if nothing else, in the description of this. You look like you want to say something.
Yeah.
What do you want to say? Drive?
Yeah, Drive is perfect.
Morning drive or whatever drive,
Is that if they were to check out online, or even if they came into you and said
they'd have to do it in the store?
Sure.
Though. They wouldn't be able to do it online.
Do you have online shopping?
We do.
Okay.
We have a Shopify site.
It's not
That's
complex enough for coupon codes.
Okay.
yeah.
Very baseline.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Just kind of done it within the year, so it's it's big.
That's our next
undertaking.
project, yeah.
Really?
Jeez. No idea.
Listing, thousands and thousands and thousands of projects.
Yeah.
Well, that
Okay. That's what I was thinking.
very cool. Very cool. Yeah, we'll resume there. We're actually going to offer something fun to those who listened, to those who might be in the market or have something coming up that they might need to snag a special piece for somebody on whatever occasion. So if you go into their location and you mention that you listen to the podcast, you want to use code DRIVE to get, what do we say, 15% off of the purchase. So, of course, I'm sure there might be terms and conditions that they'll discuss with you. That they'll discuss with you in store.
That will be on loose diamonds for sure. But yeah. There not a lot of them. There's not a lot of exclusions, but there is a couple.
Sure, there's a couple.
There's a couple.
So be sure to ask them for all the details when you go and see them in store. 15% off, code DRIVE to redeem that. And enjoy. Hopefully something comes out of that for you guys. And for somebody you listening, if something's coming that an anniversary, a birthday, a wedding, and a proposal, all these things.
And the fun one, I always call it a just because.
That's true.
The best gift you could ever give is a just because.
That's a good suggestion. Especially because my anniversary is next week. But yeah, guys, I'll put that code in the description too so that you can see that and use that in the future. Jamie, thanks so much for spending tonight with me, man. I really appreciate it. I had a lot of fun, learned that we're very similar in a lot of ways. Super cool to know you now. Love the connection we've got. Love that you came too, Maddie, to meet you too. And yeah, super thankful for your time and your interest in being on the show in general. And yeah, from here we go.
Yeah, my pleasure. This was a lot of fun. Really enjoy you, bud. That's fun. We'll go to a game.
That sounds great.
Yeah. Take me up on it. I got it.
I will.
I got you covered.
I will take you up on it.
We'll do it.
Sounds good. I look forward to it.
That's great.
Guys,
Thank you.
Websites in the description. Code DRIVE for 15% off when you go into the store and talk to the staff there. Thank you so much for listening. Like I said again at the top, follow everywhere you can, subscribe everywhere you can. Everything is at Your Morning Drive. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you guys next time. See ya.
Take care.